This is just a quick video like you work through with me. I'm going to do all of the evens. All of the evens. Notice in this particular case, A is equal to 1. That means this is 1, and all of them are 1. One of them's not down there, but it can be factored. All right, when we are factoring trinomials, this is useful when solving quadratics. We're looking for the two numbers that multiply to get this and add to get this. So multiply to get this. Now if they multiply to get 10 and they add to get a negative, both of them have to be negative. So what two numbers? Well, 10 doesn't have many factors. So it's 10, well, not 2. Let's erase that. Apologize. 10 and 1. If I were to FOIL this out, I would get negative 10, negative 11 on the inside and multiply to get positive 10. Let's do the next one. What two numbers multiply to get negative 12 and add to get 4? Now if they multiply to get a negative and add to get a positive, then the bigger one has to be positive and the smaller one has to be negative. So let's see, 6 and 2 look pretty good. Now the bigger one has to be positive because this is positive, so positive and negative. So it's simply n, I don't know why I wrote x, whatever, n minus 2 times n plus 6. Awesome, let's continue. I'm going to scroll up. In fact, I'm going to go like this. It's a little bit more centered. We're looking for the two numbers that multiply to get 64 and add to get 16. That's obviously 8 and 8. What two numbers multiply to get 24 and add to get negative 4? Let's try it out. If they multiply to get a positive and they add to get a negative, then both have to be positive, both have to be negative, and both have to be negative to get a negative 4. I don't think that's possible. In fact, yeah, if they have to multiply to get a positive and add to get a negative, both are negatives, which means the two factors have to add up to be negative 4, and that's just not possible because there's not enough factors inside of 4 to get to that. So you would write not factorable if I asked you to factor it. Factorable. Awesome. Let's do the next one. We're looking for two numbers that multiply to get 18 and add to get 11. This is positive and this is positive, which means both of them are positive. Now we've got 9 and 2. That looks pretty good. 9 and 2. And this is A. That's a 9, by the way. And that's it for that one. Let's go to another one. Two numbers that multiply to get positive 6 and add to get a negative 5. That means one of them's negative and the other's positive. If this is negative, the bigger one's negative. That's 6 and 1. Obviously, I'm probably going through this a little faster than you. The only way to get faster is to do some practice. Multiply to get a positive 8 and add to get positive 6. Let's see, 4 and 2. That looks pretty good. 4, n plus, boom, 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 boom. There we go. Let's do the next one. Now, I told you A was 1. It's not in this case. Well, that's because 5 can be factored out. So we have n squared plus 2n plus 4. Notice I just factored out the 5. Now we're asking what two numbers multiply to get 4 and add to get 2. Multiply to get a 4, add to get a 2. Not possible. It's not possible to go further with this, but it's technically factored if you factored out that 5. Awesome. Let's do the next one. Two numbers that multiply to get negative and add to get a negative 1. Well, if they multiply to get a negative, one is negative and one is positive. If, let me just clean this up a little bit. If this is negative 90, we need to have two that are just 1 away from each other in order to subtract to get that. That means, let's see, 10 and 9. That looks pretty good. I'm just doing the multiplication in my head. Next case, we're looking for two numbers that multiply. Before we do that, we're going to have to factor out this 5 on all three numbers. When we do that, we get v squared times 5, that's a squared, minus 6v plus 8. Now we're looking for two numbers that multiply to get a positive and add to get a negative. Well, if they multiply to get a positive and add to get a negative, both are negatives. Both are negative. Let's see, 4 and 2 look pretty good. We did that one a second ago. V. And we still have that 5 sticking around. There you go. Next one, we need to divide out that 4 from all terms. So that's v squared minus v minus 2. All of this is still being multiplied by 4. We're looking for the two numbers that multiply to get negative 2 and add to get negative 1. So that's v minus 1 times v. That should be a plus. Not letting me write. We have a 2 and a 1. One needs to be positive, one needs to be negative. I should have written a positive 1 right there. There we go. That looks pretty good. And we still have that 4. Woo! Let's do number 24. Continuing on. Two numbers that multiply to get positive 10 and add to get negative 7. That means both are negative. And if it multiplies to get 10, then it must be 2 and 5. That looks pretty good. That's it for the video. Don't worry about doing the odds. We will do that in class to get some practice.